Welcome back to the Local Dreamer podcast. Today, I am excited because I finally had a dream. I swear, since I started this podcast, my dream life has significantly slowed down. And I went from recording all my dreams, interpreting my dreams, hearing lessons, getting encouraging words and pictures and names for people, and sharing my dreams, to starting this podcast and then not even really being active in the dream world anymore. And it was more like all that I gleaned from studying and honoring the dreams that God had given me up until that point really prepared my mind to almost see the symbolism, the dream symbolism in real life. And what I mean by that is, in a dream, sometimes you can be dreaming about a person and it's not really the person, it's the meaning of the person's name that you're seeing. Your brain recognizes it as so-and-so, and you look at their name, and really the whole dream is more about the meaning of their name and not really personally to that person. And so training my brain to think this way through symbolism and different things having different meanings in an abstract way to kind of glean some life lessons or warnings or even encouragements for friends and family. Doing that in the dreamscape, it's like my brain was practicing all of this and honoring, and yes, God, I believe you speak through dreams, and look at all this stuff that you've warned me about. Mostly, I got a lot of warnings through my dreams, which I'm so grateful for, because I can honestly see how they have kept me in a good place in my walk with God, and didn't let me, because I believed it and I saw it for what it was, and I didn't try to make these dreams sound like what I wanted it to hear, but I really took these dreams to heart as no, that would be a bad choice. That's a bad way. Don't do this. Sit still. Don't move. Don't make a choice this day. Don't even do anything. Just stay put. It's just crazy how the warning part of dreams is and was so significant to me, because God does warn us. It's he's not waiting for us just to see how far we get on our own. And when we get around the corner, there's going to be a really tough situation. But the Lord is preparing us all along, I believe. Whatever is coming, the Lord is willing to give us a heads up. He's not trying to jump around the corner and scare us or sit back and watch and see how we do. He's not like that. He's wants the best for us. He wants us to succeed in this life. And if we believe that, then tune your ear into your dream life, because while our rational mind is asleep, the Spirit of God will speak to us, and He does. And practicing learning how to hear it is a practice in itself, and it takes time. But with the Holy Spirit and just honoring dreams in general, it's I feel like I've taken on a skill set of being able to see symbolism, apply it to my life, read the Word of God, check it, confirm it, and that skill set of seeing the symbolism, I was well, maybe I learned that so I could see the symbolism in real life. And not that you read spiritually into everything, and every blade of grass has this meaning and this person means that. It's not that, but it's really interesting. Our brain recognizes things because of the images that we've taught it to recognize. And so it's a whole nother thing that, it's kind of hard to talk about because it's very abstract. But what I'm saying is, long story short, I'm the local dreamer. I had a lot of dreams. I start this podcast, I have less dreams, and I get more into studying the Word of God because I'm trying to study and learn how to interpret dreams according to the Word of God. And I get sucked in, and I'm a full nerd studying all of the Hebrew and the Greek words and going for it that way. And then I kind of slow down dreaming. So all that to say, I had a dream last night. I'm going to share it because I feel that we can all learn from this. It was pretty short and simple, and I got a verse to go along with it. So here it goes. This dream was about a specific person that I know, but I don't think that it is only limited to this person. So this person, and I won't name names because it's irrelevant, but this person was willingly leaning his head in to be choked. And I train jujitsu, and one of my favorite moves is a loop choke. And that's kind of where you wrap the collar of the gi around the person's neck. So you're choking a person with half of his gi just pulling on his neck, and it's called a loop choke. So this person is giving their head willfully, and the other person is gonna put on this loop choke. It's like a one-handed choke, and then you kind of lock it in the back with the other hand. And the idea was this person was going to let this other person choke him because he knew he could get out. And so he was putting his head out there willfully. The other person throws on the loop choke, and the person being choked does what he knows in his mind to do, which is to escape. And he rolls his body and he just turns super hard, and it unwinds the choke. And that person is laying on the ground on the side, and he's just laughing and rejoicing. And he's just like, he tried all his might to get out of that choke. And in one spin, he was out, and he was closing his eyes, and someone ran to that person, and they were just there right next to the person that was choking, was the choker. And oblivious to that person who was the choker, this person who escaped the choke is just closed eyes, rejoicing, laughing, like, ha 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 ha, if you can imagine. And he's on his back. He's just laying next to the other person and just so excited and stoked that he escaped the choke. He did what he knew he needed to do, and he got out. And the person who was choking was angry, and the person laying on the ground rejoicing at that point didn't even have any clue as to what was still going on. But the person that was doing the choking, he was like angry, and he's holding his arm, and there's no hand. And he was just like, I just saw like skin and bone, and almost looked like a machine like hand, because it was, I don't know if in a dream you can really see like blood and real gore. But clearly the guy's hand was gone, and he was like, look at my hand. And he screamed like this deep, like, raw, look at my hand. And the guy who escaped he was laughing and still rejoicing. But this person over here was so mad, and he was so angry, and he just like was using this deep voice. And that's what kind of shook me awake, was the depth. And it kind of, I'm thinking it was a pretty demonic voice of like, look what you did, like really deep. And so this person didn't have a hand, and he's angry, and he's yelling. And then I woke up from that deep, pretty much like demon-like voice of just like, raw. And I was like, oh, wow. And I woke up. And at first I was like, oh no, like the person who escaped, he hurt this other person. Like, oh, I wonder what that means. Cause I was still like in between processing, and I wasn't sure if the person being choked was the one that did the wrong. He rolled out, because in training jiu-jitsu too, like if you do a move like full sporadic, it's like they'll say like a typical white belt, just uses all the strength, no technique, and just yanks out of positions or puts on positions or does things that are just so sporadic and definitely can hurt people. And it's just a known thing. Like when you're a beginner, you're just wiling out, you don't know what to do, and so you do whatever. And that's kind of what I was thinking at first. I was like, oh my gosh, like this person just escaped the choke, and he left like damage behind. And then I was just kind of like processing. I was like, he didn't even know what he did. Like he yanked out of this choke, and then now this person's hurt without a hand. And I feel like everybody around him is going to be mad at him for escaping. Like I kind of felt like this weird feeling, like the person who was escaping the choke is in the wrong. And I was like, that's just not right, because he was getting choked. And the reality is, if you leave this choke on long enough, it will put you out. And this choke was going to put this person out. And yes, this person put his head out there willingly, almost to be an example. But it was like, you're playing with fire by letting this other person choke you, because you're giving them a chance to choke you out, basically, where you're just out, you're unconscious. And if you don't escape, you're going out, and this person's not letting up. So the more I just meditated on it, and I was just praying about it, and then I got a verse, and I'll close out with the verse that I got. But in reality, it's like, this could totally happen where you're caught in a situation, you do what you know you're supposed to do. This person in the dream knew how to escape a loop choke, and they turned the correct way, because there's a wrong way. If you turn the wrong way, it just gets tighter. But he rolled the correct way. He got out, and he did it with force and intention, and it pretty much just ripped the hand off the person who was trying to choke. Because when you choke, you have a grip like really tight. So one hand's in a fist, and the guy turned, and it yanked so hard that somehow, I don't know, in my dream, his hand came off. That probably wouldn't happen in reality, or it's yet to happen that I know of. I wouldn't put it past the enemy of our souls to make us feel bad for getting out of our bad situation. The enemy will twist everything and anything. And what he was doing in this dream, it wasn't like he was hurt and he was saying, oh, I'm concerned about everyone else. It was the enemy himself didn't have a hand. And that's what brought me home to like, no, this was an enemy that was going to take this guy's head off. And he escaped by what he knew to do, because God put it in him the right way to turn, and he knew the move, and he did it with intention and force, and he was free, and he's rejoicing over here. And the enemy would love for him to stop rejoicing, to turn and look at the enemy and be like, oh, what did I do? Now my enemy doesn't have a hand. Oh, I'm so ashamed that I did it so forcefully, or that I did that, like just wallowing in basically shame and guilt. And instead of just this guy wasn't fazed by it. He was rejoicing. He did not come back and look at the hand. But from the outside looking in, I'm like, so easily could we look back at our enemy and be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have stayed, or I should have done it differently. And the reality is like, no, this enemy was choking my neck and I escaped, and you don't have a hand because you were trying to kill me. Not because I'm over here cutting off your hand. You were holding on to me. You had a grip so tight on me. You thought you would have my life, but God gave me a way of escape. And because you held me so tight and you wanted to put my lights out, you now have no hand. That just reminds me of the reality of who we are as children of God, that we have the upper hand. We leave the enemy without a hand. This is who we are as children of God. We have this ability that when we are pressed on all sides, when our lights are trying to be snuffed out, when our breath and the wind in our sails is being taken from us, we have a God who has prepared us and has prepared a way for us to get out of every and any situation that threatens our livelihood, our life, our walk with God, our ability to flourish in this life. I truly believe that. And the verse that came to mind is 1 Corinthians 10:13. In the ESV, it says, "No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it." The same verse in the Message says it like this: "No test or temptation that comes your way is beyond the course of what others have had to face. All you need to remember is that God will never let you down. He'll never let you be pushed past your limit. He'll always be there to help you come through it." And lastly, another version, the Mirror translation, is, "Your situation is not unique. Every human life faces contradictions. Here is the good news. God believes in your freedom. He has made it possible for you to triumph in every situation that you will ever encounter." And that to me just brings me confidence and comfort, knowing that God will never let us be pushed past our limit. He knows us. He has created each one of us, and he knows our capacity. He knows our limit better than we do. Some of us might feel like we can't go on, we can't take anymore, or this is too strong of a temptation or a test, and I'm just not going to make it. And we have to realize that God knows, like if we're facing a trial or a temptation or a proving ground kind of situation, then God has us. He has a way out for us. And even if we're caught by surprise and something pops up, we have to remind ourselves there's a way out. And I always just remind my son, like, the way out is run. Like, literally, there's two things we could do when we are faced with situations that if we don't have clear direction, like instinctively to save ourselves from getting into any kind of trouble. It's like, if like self-defense mode, like if you are faced with a temptation, a test, a trial, and it pops up, surprises you, and you're in a place where you can leave, then you leave. If you're sitting at your computer and something pops up and you're like, what the heck? I wasn't even looking for it. Some kind of nasty thing just pops up and an ad. You just close your computer. You shut it down. You close it down, walk away. Like, you need to remove yourself, remove your eyes, remove your whatever it is. You need to remove yourself from the situation and or the people around you if there's people involved. You run away and you shut it down and you shut it up and you get away from it. That's one way. And something I personally have learned is to not make any decisions. If this is something between you and it's a mental thing that you're having a test, a trial, a temptation, or an opportunity of a circumstance to just prove to yourself what kind of person you really are, then to not, if you don't know to go, to stay or go, left or right, to zig or zag, and you're just like, I don't know. I know what my flesh wants to do. I know what I should and shouldn't do. And my urges are so strong that I want to do this thing that I know is not necessarily the best or right thing to do. Then you just don't do anything at all. You turn into a statue and you make zero moves and you let it pass. Because what I've realized is that the enemy comes like a storm. And if you can be just the solid statue that you are and just hold your ground, hold your line, and don't do anything. Don't make any rash decisions and don't make any choices that have physical results. If you can just weather the storm, it will pass. And that I say from just a personal testimony of just, you don't make any move and you stand, and it's everybody else around you might be falling like just flies down. They're just dying out. Everyone around you could be dying right now, but you just stand strong and the storm will pass. And then you can relax and come out of statue mode. But other than that, when the storm comes like that and it's your storm in your mind, you don't move a muscle. You stand strong and firm and you just stay put until the storm passes. And this reminds me that that is how the enemy comes, like a storm, coming through, making a mess, blowing through your life, and leaving. And what are you left with? Repairs, repercussions to deal with, all of the damage of this storm coming in and just like a tornado or a hurricane would. You're just left like, really? Like, that is really what just happened? And if it is a personal attack like that for you, being the statue is where you want to be. You want to just stand on that rock, which is Jesus, and you want to hold your ground and you want to just strike a pose and don't move. Don't move a muscle. Don't flinch and let that storm pass. But I have to say that through observation, I have seen how that could be what some people do and choose to do while they're in the storm without realizing that the storm is actually behind their eyelids. And actually all is calm and all is well if they would just open their eyes. And that's just something to keep in mind, that if you feel like your life is getting hammered by a storm and your eyes are open and things are just going crazy, you're seeing other people struggle with the same stuff, people around you, it's just like the writing's on the wall and you're like, oh my gosh, it's just a matter of time till I end up doing the same things they did or whatever, you know, like your eyes are open and you're like, oh no, the enemy is coming like a storm. I can see results around me that the same kind of temptation, trials, and things are in the air pretty much. And I need to get on my rock and I need to strike a pose and I need to not move till this storm passes. That's one thing. But if you are in an overly extended, a long storm that seems to be raging all around you, and you're not getting any breakthrough and you're not getting any changes and nothing seems to be getting any better, if anything, things are getting worse and you're losing contact with people that are in your circle of trust or circle of friends or community, and it just seems like you are being more and more just more in the storm than before, than when this first started, then my suggestion would be to make sure your eyes are open, because I've seen from experience watching from the outside that one could easily think that this enemy is coming in like a storm, and so maybe the enemy was, and so they close their eyes, but they get stuck with their eyes closed and the fantasy and the delusion sets in, and they are fighting and battling a storm that is only seen on the back of their eyelids from inside their closed eyes, if you know what I mean. And what they need to do is open their eyes and to realize, oh, there's peace and tranquility around me. Nobody's against me. Nobody hates me. Nobody's judging me. Nobody's doing anything. Like, what? It's so quiet. There's nothing going on. There's no storm. Because the storm was an illusion in their mind, which was behind their eyelids. And I will just put that out there, that if you're being bombarded by a storm and you feel like it's a storm that's gonna pass through, then stand firm on the rock, strike a pose, don't make any choices, don't move left or right, here or there, wait for it to pass, and double check yourself that you're not closing your eyes, trying with all your might to stand strong and to do what you need to do and to make things right, and just bearing down, closing your eyes, closing your fists, and hoping that everything will just go away and get better, without realizing that you closing your eyes that tight is really where the storm is behind your own eyelids. It's not even real. Nobody else is in a storm around you. So just check yourself, open up, make sure your eyes are open. God, open my eyes to reality. Is this storm really happening, or is this in my mind? Is this behind my eyelids? Is this something I've created in my own imagination and fantasy? Help me, God, to just open up my eyes and know that God has a way out of this trial. This will not last forever. Like the saying, this too shall pass. Your trial, your temptation, your opportunity for proving will pass. And God believes in you. God believes in your freedom more than you believe in your freedom. More than I believe in my own freedom. God is cheering for us, and we have to realize that. We have to bank on Him and His faith in us. That He has faith, that He has created a way out of every situation, every temptation, every trial, every test. That He is that good, that it might be the hardest thing to find where that way out is, but we have to believe that it's there. And you're going to keep looking until you find it. And when you find it, you take it. You don't wait. You don't hesitate. You go with full intention. You make your escape and you rejoice. And you don't listen to the enemy of your soul who would love to tell you, you leaving hurt so many people. You doing this hurt. Oh, blah, blah, blah. There can be so many lies and so many twisted things that could come at you after you escape. So be on guard. Don't get sucked back in and don't fall for it. He wants you looking at the wound you gave him and feel sorry for it. I mean, can you imagine someone's trying to kill you and you stab them and then they're like, look at what you did to me. This is horrible. You're a horrible person. It's like, are you kidding me? You were just going to kill me. I was defending myself. I was doing what I knew to do to get out of there. And I'm over here rejoicing that I'm alive and safe. Look, don't let the enemy steal your attention. You rejoice and continue to rejoice and give God all the praise. And thank God that the way out worked, that I am indeed free, that no temptation, don't flatter yourself. And I tell myself that too. It's like, don't be so flattered, Lila, like you think you're the only one that deals with that. No, the enemy is not creative, and there's nothing that is uncommon to man. Like, we are all the same. We are equal. We are all human. We all are given the same makeup to deal with this life, and especially this spiritual life. So be of good courage that God will provide a way out. Be wise. Don't stick your neck out there and be like, yeah, put on a choke and I'll show you I can get out because I know what to do. We don't want to be cocky knowing that God is faithful and we will get out. We don't want to be caught doing that, but we do want to be wise. And we do want to have faith knowing that even if I do get caught up, even if I get trapped, there's always going to be a way out. Even if it feels like I'm in a locked room with no windows, one door that's completely locked, the Lord will provide a way out. I believe it. And He believes in our freedom more than we believe in it. For who Christ set free is free indeed. We are already free. And so if you get caught up, just know that your freedom is there waiting for you, and there is a way out. And He will always be faithful to show it to you, even if it feels like you are in the tightest place with no options. Have faith that God will always come through, and He will provide a way out, or a way that you can stand up under it. Because with God, anything is possible. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you're encouraged and inspired. And until next time, a hui ho.